Let's go to sport now. With the Rugby World Cup just 2.5 months away, the first All Blacks squad of the year will be announced in Auckland tonight. The squad is expected to include up to 41 players and will be for the All Blacks' first two matches of the Rugby Championship later this month. Sports reporter Clay Wilson is at the Ponsonby Rugby Club for the team naming, which starts at 7 o'clock, and he joins me now. Clay, you must be positively tingling with excitement. What are you expecting from tonight's announcement?
Yeah, good evening, Lisa. Like all Blacks fans around the country, we do know a few things. It's going to be a big squad, most likely around 41 players. We're not expecting too many surprises. And we also know that as of this morning, it's very unlikely we're going to see Ryan Crotty and Scott Barrett. Rugby followers would have seen the news. Ryan Crotty, a thumb injury, out for around 8 weeks and out of the entire Rugby Championship. And Scott Barrett, the lock from the Crusaders, suffering a finger injury, which puts him out for around 6 weeks. Some talk he may come back in the latter part of the Rugby Championship. There are some new faces being thrown around. Speaking about the Crusaders, Sevu Reece, the Fijian winger who set the competition alight, will he be able to join the outside back stocks, which are always very talented for the All Blacks? Josh Ioane, he's the Highlanders' first five, with Richie Mo'unga likely to be unavailable for the first game in Argentina at the Rugby Championship. He might come in for his first week in All Blacks camp. And Brad Weber, who has played one test but has really been one of the form halfbacks of the competition, set for a recall as a third halfback potentially.
So you mentioned Argentina there, first test of the year in a couple of weeks' time. So what kind of team are we likely to see there?
Yeah, I did touch on Richie Mo'unga there, so it has been already noted by Steve Hansen, the All Blacks coach, that it's likely very few, if any, Crusaders will be involved in that first game because of their involvement, obviously, in this weekend's Super Rugby final. And with so many of those Crusaders players part of the All Blacks squad and many of them starters as well, there is going to be opportunities for several players to make a statement. You look on the likes of the propping ranks, Owen Franks and Joe Moody out with the Crusaders, so the Auckland Blues duo, Ofa Tuangafasi and Carl Tuinukuafe, both could come in for some rare starts. Cody Taylor out at hooker with the Crusaders, and Dane Coles, who's had his troubles with injuries over the past 12 months, a chance to start in the All Blacks jersey again. And then in the midfield, with likely no Ryan Crotty and Jack Goodshue as well, his midfield partner, the Crusaders, we could see some excitement in the midfield with Sonny Bill Williams and Anton Leonard-Brown, and also Ngani Laumape from the Hurricanes, all in the mix there, and likely to be this two of the three starters there. So yeah, we could see a very different team for that first game in Argentina with the Crusaders involved in that Super Rugby final.
So yeah, the squad that's announced tonight is for the first two matches of the Rugby Championship, but what happens after that?
So we do know after those first two games it's going to be trimmed from likely around 40 to 41 players to 34 players for the final two matches of the Rugby Championship. Both of those games will be against the Wallabies in Perth and then back here in Auckland. And after that, I guess we'll have a much clearer idea about the makeup of the squad for the World Cup and what the selectors are thinking. The World Cup squad will be 31 players, so around 10 players less than will be named tonight. And we don't have a date for that announcement yet, but we do know the All Blacks have a game in Hamilton against Tonga before they go to the World Cup, about 2 weeks before their first game against Japan, in fact. So we expect we might have a World Cup squad before that game against Tonga on September 7.
Yeah, so in terms of the selection tonight, just quickly, how much should we read into that in terms of the World Cup in Japan? Looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, with this squad tonight being so big, 40 to 41 players, you'd expect that the 31 for the World Cup, most, if not all of them, will come from this squad. But as we know in a sport like rugby, injuries do happen. So the likes of Nonu, who we're not expecting to be named tonight, could still come into the mix in the midfield there if he does miss the cut tonight. But the bulk of the squad is fairly easy to predict. I guess tonight just gives us a bit of an insight into what the selectors have seen in this year's Super Rugby competition and in terms of the positions that they think are up for grabs for this World Cup squad.
Thank you, Clay. That's Clay Wilson standing very by at the Ponsonby Rugby Club for that All Blacks squad announcement, which is expected around 7 o'clock this evening.